Is LSU on upset alert? I think you heard that right, Kurt. LSU is on upset alert.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. So just visit FanDuel.com to get started. Now, Vandy is poised to make another upset bid. This time it's in Death Valley. I think it's on the table there. Some things are going to have to go right, obviously, and we'll talk about that. And Kurt Page, welcome back, is here to help me discuss what those things are. Kurt, I got to ask you, and before I ask him, we'll put this up on the screen. All right. But what is the importance of getting off to a hot early start and having early success in the ring? What is the importance of that? Why does that need to happen?
Well, that gives the team confidence, and it gives, coming off the bye week, we're going to see a lot of freshness of our players, and coming off that bye week and starting fast and with a lot of emotion and a lot of energy because, the blood's in the water. LSU, they're licking their wounds and, losing to Florida and losing the last few games. So we've got to start fast and get that crowd on our side, as you mentioned earlier.
Oh, yeah. And they just lost another one today to Michigan. They lost a quarterback. So things are not going too swimmingly over there for Brian Kelly and the crew. But, yeah, we look at the keys of the game. And, obviously the first one is the most important because number one plays very much into number four, because if you can establish early success in the run game, that's something, A, LSU struggles at, and B, you want to get a team that's not confident to stay not confident, right? You want to get them when they're down, you cannot let them up off the mat. You cannot give them that confidence, and you have to, if you can. I put this scenario out there earlier in the week. I said, if Vandy can win the toss, get the ball, march down the field, 10 plays, 6, 7, 8 minutes, punch it in for 6. I think the LSU crowd they'll be dead silent, and B, now LSU's on their heels, and we know what happens when they get on their heels. We saw it last week. We saw it the week before. We saw it the week before. They've lost 3 in a row. I think Jalen Milroe just scored again. DJ Lagway was on. He has 1.5 hamstrings right now, maybe not even that. And he was out there dicing up that defense. There's some problems there in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think that's the mode of operation that we got to do. We got to be aggressive on offense, run the football, put our physicality to test, and let them know that we can run the ball. Quarterback can run the ball, design runs, and also just throwing the ball when we want to throw the football to Eli Stowers and the receiving core. And really make it, on attack mode. And, we do have some explosive plays in there too, because, like I said, they've had 2 weeks to prepare for this game and the next game as well. So you're going to see a fresh offense and an enthusiastic group of guys that are going to be ready to play.
Now, speaking of fresh, not everyone is fresh. All right. We got to control the clock, control the field. Obviously, that'll tie in here in a second. But, Diego Pavia, let's talk about that. And we talked about this in the offseason, some of those episodes that we did. You remember this, but this might be the time where this comes into play, because Diego Pavia, and I'll take an 80% Diego Pavia any day of the week. So let me preface what I'm about to say with that statement. All right. And I think he's as tough of a competitor as you're going to get. He's a leader, all that stuff. However, there's going to be a point in time in this game where he's still beat up enough to where he was limited in practice. And there's going to be some points in this game where he's just not effective. So I think what Tim Beck and Jerry Kill are going to have to do, this is where the 2 quarterback system that we talked about will come in, because they're going to have to get Nate Johnson to come in and relief pitch some at certain points in the game. And they're going to need to be able to do more than just have him hand it off or take off running. They're going to have to actually run this offense with him, and they're going to have to trust it because they have no choice. He's explosive enough to really make LSU pay. And he can do some things that Pavia cannot do right now because Pavia's A, beat up, and B, Nate Johnson's actually a superior athlete. So you have to get him involved somehow. This is your chance now to see what he's got. You can get some good evaluation of him for next year, just in case Pavia does not win that court case. And you have to see what you have in Nate Johnson. Not to say that, we're looking to bench Diego Pavia, but at some point you've got to realize that, okay, he's going to be ineffective at times. You have to give him breaks.
Absolutely. I think you're going to see a smash and dash program where we've got the smasher, that's Pavia, and the dash is Nate Johnson. And he's an explosive guy, and we saw Milroe. We've seen all the quarterbacks that have done that. They can get up, they can get vertical very, very quick. And he's also got a good arm, and he can sprint out, and he can make good throws. So I see him getting 15 to 20 snaps. I bet he got more reps this past week and last 2 weeks because not having the game, as Pavia was out nursing and getting healthy. Nate probably ran majority of the offense a couple of days for sure. Probably got 50 to 75 snaps that he normally wouldn't get. So I think that's going to accelerate him. Hopefully, get in a position where we can see him, get out there and put on some time on the clock and get some field time.
Yeah, no doubt. And so the 2 quarterback system is going to come in handy here. This is going to be part of establishing that early success. That's going to also be part of controlling the clock. Can he come in there and do that? If not, they're going to have to figure out a way to make it happen, either bring in Berlowitz or Drew Dickey even for a few plays if Nate Johnson is ineffective, just to give Pavia those breaks. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see how they manage that. And I know if they ask Diego, he's going to be like, nah, I'm fine.
Right.
Just send me out there. But they're going to have, like, Jerry Kill, Tim Beck, and even Clark Lee is going to have to help Diego Pavia save Diego Pavia from Diego Pavia.
Exactly. That's a great point. I think Nate Johnson, and the other quarterbacks you mentioned, it's just good to have some guys that are fresh legs, can get in there and run the offense and throw and, make a good run mesh, that type of thing. So it should be interesting. We need that. We need that not only for next year and building, but we need it for right now, because if those 10 or 12 plays, 15 plays say that we can get the guy rested, that he'll come back and be even stronger as we start the fourth quarter in the second half of the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
It only makes sense.
Because this game is going to be pretty tight. Because LSU,
it's going to be a 4-quarter game. It's going to be making every possession count and getting hopefully some big turnovers, some field position changes. Our punt, height, the punt returners hopefully going to play a big major part of it. Mm-hmm. So it's exciting. It's set up for us to have a special Saturday night. But we don't, I don't think we have mentioned, was it 1990s the last time they beat them, right?
Yeah.
So we got to get after that too. So it's going to be exciting Saturday night. Another
check off that checklist, right?
Yes,
so controlling the clock, obviously, that's just their identity. That's always going to be a key to the game because that's just their identity. Control the clock on both sides of the ball. You have to limit their explosive plays. Control the field position too. Like punting in Vandy's sake is not bad unless you're going 3 and out. Like if they get a first down or two and they're able to punt and be able to send that ball down, because Jesse Mirko has been a weapon lately in the punting game. And so they've had really good punt coverage units as well. And they can flip the field and force LSU to drive. That's how they can control things. If you force LSU to drive, they can't score if they're driving. You're going to have they're going to be more mistake prone if they're driving. And then if Vandy can control the clock a little bit and eat clock every time they touch the ball, that's going to put a lot of pressure on LSU.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing. It's a two battle of some teams that are kind of set up differently. We're ball control and we're going to run the football and then take our shots, where they're more of a passing the football, controlling the pass. And I think they want to run the football, but boy, they have a tough time doing it. And then defensively, like we've already mentioned, they have a tough time containing the quarterback, and that's where we need to expose the plays to happen. No doubt about it.
Yeah, no doubt. And so looking at that, controlling the game, basically defensively, I think they can put a lot of pressure on LSU. The offense will do plenty of that just by holding the ball, but getting pressure on Nussmeier and getting takeaways, teams have shown that they can do that. Teams have shown that they can poke that ball out of his hands, or they can get him to throw some ill-advised pass as he's scrambling. But the key is to not let him sit in the pocket and not let him get the ball out. What he really wants to do is take the snap, quick 1, 2, 3, and pop it out of there to one of his guys in space. And if Vandy can just disrupt pass lanes, if they can close down space and make him double clutch and somehow find ways to get in there and flush him if they want to try to go more down the field, then that's going to have to be what this defense does. And Clark Lee does a great job. And I say this every week, but one of the things Clark Lee is best at that I've seen, and I saw this in Notre Dame, I see it now. I didn't see it last year because obviously he had kind of stepped back, but he's really good at figuring out what you want to do and taking that away. Yeah, and making you start on plan B.
Right.
And most of the time taking that away even and making you live in plan C, which teams do not want to live in plan C.
Yeah, the only team that really was effective at getting back to what they want to do was University of Texas, the Longhorns. They got back to their passing attack. Quinn Ayers, really, really executing that. They stayed steady in the boat, and they did what they had to do. But these other teams, we've kind of taken them out of what they wanted to do in their comfort zone, and make them go into some areas they're not as comfortable. And that's going to be the beauty of seeing how he does that. And I think their top running back is a freshman, and he's very talented. But he's also been nursing some injuries as well. So
they just don't have any consistency there.
Yeah, it's no consistency. Their offensive line has 2 NFL-rated linemen. I think both tackles are, but they just have not played up to their level of play. And we need to make sure that it continues to happen. And bring things to them that are hard to digest. And hard to get after. And that's what we need to do. And I think we will, no doubt.
And we're going to talk about how to take the crowd out and continue to control the ball offensively and defensively. We're going to do that, though. Stick around because it's coming up next. Man, talking about PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. And all you have to do is just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. So run your game all season long on PrizePicks. So you get these situations where it's like, okay, Jameis Winston, more or less than 220 yards passing. Russell Wilson, more or less than 1.5 touchdown passes. Those are the things you bet on, right?
Yeah.
And so you can win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks, right? And it's the best way to get in on action on sports in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. And I think down in Alabama, even where you're at. So PrizePicks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so that if your lineups, and it means your lineups stay in play, even if your player gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, PrizePicks keeps your lineup live, right? PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. There's 10 million users. You need to sign up. right? They put their members first. So all withdrawals, if you do win or when you do win, are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. And they offer Venmo, which is for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your account this sports season. So sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's just guaranteed. So PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Like each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more valuable for your lineup. So just think about that. And if any of that sounds good to you, just visit prizepicks.com and sign up. And it's the promo code is LockedOnCollege. So join prizepicks.com/LockedOnCollege. Get it done. Win some fantasy. All right, welcome back. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. If you need a second listen, go check out the Squad Show. It's up on our channel, Locked On SEC. Chris Gordy does a great job leading the way, and we squad up every Thursday. That drops every Thursday morning, so go check that out. So, but we're here with Kurt Page, man. We're trucking right along, man. We got some keys to success here. Vandy is putting the world on notice. Like, I think everybody's kind of looking at this game going, Vandy has a chance. Vandy has a really good chance, right? And so part of the allure to Death Valley and part of the reason why LSU has started the week at 9.5 points, it's now 7.5 points, is because they feel like Death Valley is good for a touchdown because it's a hostile road environment, right? We know that. Did you ever play in Death Valley?
I sure did, yeah.
Was it
in 1984? It's really loud. We had a weather delay. I think we lost 34-27. They had the live tiger right next to the locker room. So it's intimidating. They chanted the whole time, "Tiger bait, tiger bait." You know, It was a very hostile crowd. But we played them tough and just came up a little short. But that was quite exciting area to play.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it very much is. But right now they're on the ropes, and I think this crowd is kind of restless a little bit right now because they're looking at it. They're like, "How the heck did we went from being lead contenders in the SEC championship and playoff contention to now we need to win out and a lot of luck to help us even have a chance, and still might not get in." But things are heading south. So we talked about a lot of these things, right? Getting pressure on Nussmeier, forcing the ball out, establishing a good first drive, and getting that field position, getting points and things like that. It takes the crowd out of it. And when you're in a situation like that, if you can neutralize the crowd, and this was a funny quote that I heard. I had to laugh because it's kind of sad when I heard it, but it's also very much true. And Clark Lee was like, "Yeah, getting prepared for LSU, it's a hostile road environment. And, we're going to play crowd noise at practice, but, we're Vanderbilt, so we're just used to crowd noise." Meaning like every game's a road game for them, basically, which is kind of sad. But I'm like, yeah, it's very true, though. Like that's, they're used to it, right? That doesn't faze them. So, but getting that crowd to be quiet is going to be the key, and doing those things will help that. And if they can take the crowd out of it, that's where LSU gets all their juice, because this group especially, but a lot of years mostly, they're front runners, right? They get a big play or two early, and that crowd gets jacked up, and they get jacked up, and next thing you know, it just snowballs. If we can eliminate that as quickly as possible, this team will have no juice because they're done with Brian Kelly. You can tell. There's a lot, and I used your vocabulary this week. They have a lot of emotional interference.
Absolutely, they stay. And a lot of it is self-induced. The coach, his treatment of his players and the way they're back and forth. He's trying to be more supportive of them, and it's just not a good environment right now. Right,
it's very hostile, and just like. Yeah. They keep showing the sideline, and he's just like yelling at people, and some of the things just aren't that inherently bad. Like I think also on the same token, people are trying to make a lot out of nothing. Like it's something that coaches, a lot of coaches say, and probably there's some coaches that probably say worse that get better results. But it's not about like what they're saying. It's about like, hey, they're tuning you out. Like, this is not working. Like, there's something that's not right here. Like, you have to establish something to get to that point, because like Dan Lanning will chew your butt. But those players respect him. Yeah. Even before he started winning, like his day one when he stepped on Oregon's campus, like he just established that line, and he established that relationships with all of his players, and they know like he's going to go to bat for them. So like when he's yelling at you, it sucks in the moment, but like they're not going to get all like, they're just going to be disappointed, and that's going to be it. But like Brian Kelly, they're like having quarrels on the sidelines. Like players are going back at him, and he's like, he's saying stuff that he shouldn't have to say on Saturdays. You say some of the stuff that you say for the film room, he's saying that on the sidelines, which is also not good. But like there's some like bad culture stuff spilling out everywhere.
Yeah, it seems like he's disconnected. I haven't been to their practice, but I'm going to assume at their practices, he's probably not engaged very much with the players. He's probably a walk-around head coach. And when you're that type of coach, and then you jump right in, you have to kind of coach them through situations and then build their confidence. And I see a guy like Dan Lanning, Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, those guys, I'm sure they're very active at practice. They probably have a group where they're working with, kids that traditionally, that's their group they're working with, where I don't see Brian Kelly being that guy. I see Lane Kiffin being that guy. I see Josh Heupel. I see Clark Lee having groups that they're working with, either whole defense or the defensive backs, but I don't see Brian Kelly being that guy. And it's hard to jump on guys because you kind of jump over the assistant coach, the position coach, then you jump over the coordinator and you're right in on them, and they're like, hey, this is, I don't want to hear this from you as the head coach. I want my position coach to get me straight, and he's kind of jumping past those hurdles, and it's not healthy. It's not healthy for the staff synergy, and it's sure not healthy for the players and their development. You can see it. It's a great easy read for me to see. He's not a very active head coach at practice.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. And so, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to pick this game. Vandy 7.5-point underdogs on the road. We're going to pick it, but we're going to do that next. So hang on. All right, looking at ZBiotics first. ZBiotics is the first pre-alcohol probiotic drink that's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by a PhD scientist to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Wonder how you discovered that. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. So this pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break down this byproduct. And just remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night, and then drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. How about that? They put a science to hangovers, Kurt. And they created a product. Talk about smart right there, man. Yeah. And I've tried it, and it does work. Like I before I dive into my bourbon and ginger, if I'm going to drink heavily one night, which I don't do a whole lot of anyway, but when I do, like, this stuff works, man. So you drink the pre-alcohol, and then for best results, make it your first drink. Drink responsibly after that. Pace yourself. Do get some hydration, and get as good of a night's sleep as you can. Obviously, if you're drinking like that, you're probably partying pretty late into the night. So, and then you just wake up feeling refreshed. So what you need to do here, if you're interested in any of this is a pretty cool concept. Go to zbiotics.com/LockedOnCollege. It's right here below. All right, to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use Locked On College at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked. So remember to head to zbiotics.com/LockedOnCollege and use code LockedOnCollege at checkout for 15% off. Now, the picks we're about to make are presented by FanDuel, and there's an NFL game on as we're recording this, and you can tackle action on that even live on FanDuel, which is America's #1 sports book. Because right now, new customers can bet $5. That's it, and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. So the FanDuel, so you need to get a lobber for your first one, so you can get that. So you can get that bonus. But the FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. So just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. So that's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, welcome back. We are wrapping up. Got a few minutes left here before we set you off to the weekend. Kurt Page is joining us, and when you get set off to your weekend, as you're watching game day, you should sit down with a Creve Hall bagel from Creve Hall Bagel Company as you watch game day. Kurt, have you ever had sourdough bagels?
I have.
From Creve Hall Bagel?
I think I have. I know right. I know right where Creve Hall is. They're delicious.
Yeah, it's well, you should go. You should definitely make it a habit. And if you're listening to this, it's the best bagels around. Like, screw the other bagel companies. Creve Hall is where it's at, right?
Yeah, right.
So we're wrapping up the show. Just to recap here, thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen. Here's the keys to the game. You establish early success in the run game. That's going to take the crowd out of it. Obviously, control the field, control the clock, which is just your identity. So just play to your identity, which is that. Get lots of pressure on Nussmeier. Get it. You got to steal the ball a couple of times, right? And then manage that hostile road environment, because it's going to be hostile. There's going to be some things. Even getting off the bus is going to be hostile there at LSU. So you got to manage all of that. It's going to be different than any of these guys have ever seen. So you got to manage all that. So let's get into it, though. Here's the picks. We're going to start off. We got 3 picks for the road for the weekend. Starting off, obviously, with Vandy. Kurt, I got Vandy plus 7.5. I'm going to take the points here. Because I think it's an easy bet. I think they're going to cover, and I'm going to even say they're going to outright win. So I think Vandy's an easy bet here.
I think so too. I think it's an easy pick, and I think it's one that we've got coming off that bye week, so we'll get it done, definitely. Anchor down with 7.5. All right, the next game that I thought was intriguing, and these are all SEC games. We can pick some other ones for fun. But Texas A&M, Auburn. That's it. That's in your neck of the woods, Kurt. Texas A&M's only 2.5-point favorites. Auburn's been pretty awful this year. But as Zach Blackerby said of Locked On Auburn, this was funny on the Squad Show. He goes, yeah, you know what? We're a really good team. We just don't know how to win. Really good team. Just don't know how to win. Yeah, I think the Aggies are going to take care of business. Their quarterback's from Nashville, Tennessee. I think he's ready to get going and get a big victory on the road.
Yeah, I think they figured some things out with Mike Elko. I think they're made that transition at quarterback, so there is some growing pains there, and I think that's the reason why the line is the way it is, because Marcel Reed is still going through those growing pains. He's going to be a really good quarterback. He's just not quite there yet, but I still think Texas A&M with Mike Elko is definitely well better suited to win this game. So I'm taking the Aggies too, as seen on this document. Now, Ole Miss, Florida. All right, Florida, big win against LSU. They were dead on the mat, and they got up. So does Ole Miss win this one at 9.5 and cover, or can the Gators keep it close or win? I'm taking Ole Miss, obviously, because I think they got over the Georgia hump. Now they're just going to cruise and try to get in the playoff.
Yeah, I think they're strong right now. I think they're clicking on all cylinders. I think they're playing complimentary football. They went and invested on the defensive line and guys up front, and it's paying off for them. I think Florida will have a chance to make a bowl game with a Florida State victory in a couple of weeks, but they're not going to get one against Ole Miss.
Right. No, I don't think so either. I think this is going to be – Ole Miss is just too strong right now. That defensive line is flat out insane. That's one of the them in South Carolina are just scary good.
Yeah. Yeah, both of them are outstanding. I think they've probably got probably 1-2 defensive lines in the whole SEC. Yeah,
no doubt. And I believe that you may even, if you look at it nationwide, they may even have it there too. So I'm with you there. So, but that's going to do it for us here on the Locked On Vandy podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for joining. Hope if you make these picks from FanDuel, hope you get your 150 in bonus bets if you sign up for the first time. We hope that you have a great weekend. If you're going down to Baton Rouge, be safe. And let's bring home a W back to West End. So with that being said, like I said, be safe. Anchor down. See you back. We'll see you back here next time. Peace.